I'd feel the same way if I were you. All right, let's get started. According to Stormy Daniels' husband, the couple will leave the United States if Trump wins the trial. So wait a second. She has a husband? That's like finding out the Easter Bunny has syphilis.
Oh, my God.
What, does somebody have syphilis in here? I'm sorry I offended you. And get this, her husband's a porn star, too. I wonder, do they talk shop at home? I bet he complains when he doesn't have a hard day at work. Wow, I'm not Jim Gaffigan. This is gonna be clean comedy. So they're actually gonna be leaving the United States, which means Stormy's gonna enter another country as opposed to another country entering her. Sorry. Rosie O'Donnell reportedly sent a text to Michael Cohen saying, "Breathe, relax, tell the truth. You got this. I love you." That's the same advice she gives herself when strapping on the feed bag. Executives at ABC are complaining about photos of Good Morning America co-host DeMarco Morgan showing him posing with a large bulge in skin-tight biker shorts. Seriously, what does he think this is, a women's swim team? 16 women have accused magician David Copperfield of sexual misconduct, several of whom would have been underage at the time. Hey, good luck keeping him in jail. A new video shows Gavin Newsom touting his success in fighting homelessness, while also noting that California has become the #1 destination for camping. Newsom says his state has a national blueprint for solving the homeless problem. Before he could explain further, though, he was hit in the face with a handful of feces from a passing vagrant. No, you don't like feces either. I'm learning so much about this audience. 3 men have been arrested for the alleged theft of 306 cattle, worth nearly $170,000. Authorities say, despite finding the herd, they're still on the lookout for 5 others. Note to self, they like the fat jokes, they hate feces. There goes my joke about Michael Moore himself. All right. Newly released video captured a wild bull attacking bystanders at a popular Los Cabos beach. It's the most terrifying thing tourists have seen at a beach since this. All right, we're gonna do a monologue. So, unlike Joe, it appears the debates are alive. Yes, Biden and Trump are actually planning to stand on the same stage again and debate each other. Joe told us about it in a 13-second video that had more cuts than the wrists of a depressed goth. Wow. Watch.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. And since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. So let's pick the dates, Donald. I hear you're free on Wednesdays.
Make my day. The only thing that makes Joe's day is taking a piss in under 20 minutes. Hilariously, the Biden campaign is claiming he didn't mince words.
Listen, the president himself did not mince words, right? He said that he beat Donald Trump twice in 2020. Donald Trump hasn't debated since. The president is happy to debate. He's happy to do it twice.
Didn't mince words? They were literally minced in that video. Words were more chopped than Dr. Jill's sliced steamed bananas she feeds him every morning. But hey, who needs the ability to form sentences at a debate, right? Especially without the teleprompter telling him when to pause, repeat the word, and not his pants. Say what you want about Trump, but he has no problem talking. He's the only guy Stormy Daniels said made her ears sore. But with Biden, they need to slice and dice. In fact, we got our hands on the original version of that video. Check it out.
Hey, let's do this thing, man. Come on. Come on. Donald Trump lost. 2 debates to me in 1920. Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 1920. Did you forget what century it is? Donald Trump lost 2
Where? I can't. Here, diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
2 downs. What happened to him in 2020? Cincinnati hadn't shown up for a debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice. What am I going to do twice? Oh, debate. Well, make my day, pal. You know who said that? East Clintwood. Excuse me, Clint Black. Bill Clinton. I'm not afraid of him, man. I took him down behind the shed. Let's pick the debates, Donald. Let's pick the dates. The debates for the dates. I hear you free on Wednesday. What does that mean? Anthony!
Something's in the water at Fox. Anyway, for those of us without dementia, Joe's sudden demand for debate is a big surprise. Since earlier, the Biden campaign completely dismissed the idea. I'm not going to debate a criminal, he croaked. The last time I saw a 180 like that, Brian Stelter forgot half his order at the Burger King drive-thru. So why the change of heart, and not the monthly one when they replace all of Joe's organs? Our friend Vivek thinks it's a setup. Quote, keep an eye on the details of how all this comes together. You don't often see a sudden 180 like this unless there's more to the story. Well, if that sounds paranoid, wait till I tell you how JFK killed Lee Harvey Oswald. Biden is demanding also that there be no audience. No audience, which granted is something Joe is used to. Usually when he's in a room with more than 3 people, it's on a gurney as nurses scream, don't walk into the light. But I guess the audience is banned because there's nothing scarier than a presidential candidate who can relate to the people. Still, our old pal Chris Wallace thinks it's a great idea because you people are such a pain in the neck.
I always felt that the audience was a pain in the neck. You know, some people are saying, well, that's going to hurt Trump because he plays to a crowd. I think it's overstated the advantage that it gives either one of them. I don't think either of them are really paying much attention to it. And I think it removes an unnecessary distraction.
Okay, so it's the audience that risks distraction. Something Chris never had to worry about at CNN Plus. His audience consisted of the cameraman in the studio and the ghost of his disappointed father. I'm sorry. Of course, if Trump had made this demand, he would have been accused of suppressing the will of the people, democracy, and free speech. Another Biden demand, of course, no RFK Jr. I get it. Imagine a guy who sounds like Katharine Hepburn sounding more coherent than you ever could. And the candidates' mics must be muted after allotted time. This way, Joe can fart away at will. Of course, they want to minimize Joe's damage. I'm surprised they didn't add, and no candidates either. And yet the media is cool with this, especially since Joe got to pick his teammates, otherwise known as hosts. Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Tapper and Bash. Sounds like a terrible British breakfast. Or Cagney and Lacey with less testosterone. So those are the 2 unbiased journalists.
The Trump presidency is coming to an end. For tens of millions of our fellow Americans, their long national nightmare is over.
Insults, invective, and outright lies. That's what we heard from Donald Trump in Iowa this weekend.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well, this time given life by former president and current Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump.
As he was talking, I was trying to reach out to some senior Republicans to ask when the intervention is going to happen. This isn't just dangerous. It's nonsensical.
Under my voice, you hear him repeating his anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Wow, talk about fair. They're going to be as objective as Chris Christie at a lard tasting. Meanwhile, some of the media seem to have already known of Biden's eagerness to debate. Almost immediately after Biden's video dropped, Politico details their thinking on the debates. Quote, senior advisors felt that they could not skip them as the re-election campaign has been positioning itself as the one pushing for democracy and transparency. Moreover, it would fuel talk that Biden wasn't up for the rigors of the job itself. So how did Politico know ahead of time? I guess Vivek was right. The fix is in. Because Biden is losing. The court cases aren't working. Every time Trump shows up in court, his approval ratings go up. Love him or hate him, he's got that thing that attracts viewers. Some people have it, and some people don't. But perhaps there's other tricks in the works. Maybe a big new hoax that will appear that lets Joe back out on the basis of, we can't debate this man. A conviction, perhaps, that might give him the excuse that we can't debate a felon. So the stage isn't set for a debate. It's set for something else. If this were a fair fight, Biden would be quaking in his Pampers. Look, they're already interfering with elections right in front of us with these court cases. Imagine what they're doing behind our backs without the courtesy of a reach around. You're a pervert. So don't hold your breath expecting a fair fight. That's not part of the Democrat playbook. That stage could have a trap door installed for Trump and something worse installed for you and me. Let's welcome tonight's guest! Her language is so salty, pretzel makers want to bag her. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Campagno. He makes more random noises than a 93 LeBaron. Actor and comedian Jim Brewer. Popeye once cheated on olive oil with her New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor, Kat Pipp. And a dump truck is his toilet. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and all right, Emily, what do you make of this sudden decision to debate? What's the real story, Campagno?
Well, the first thought that went through my mind was that this is a coup. Totally. Because otherwise, why else would they serve up the Crypt Keeper and actually think that he would carry the flag? And then I thought to myself that this is their manufactured answer to the fact that the media and Americans have been calling for a debate. This enables them to say, no, he said he would. He said he would do too, right? It shuts up the groundswell of people that were saying, I'm sorry, the sitting president should be able to actually debate another candidate on policy. However, every bone in my body does not think it's actually going to happen. I agree with you wholeheartedly. This is like the scene in Gladiator when the king, the hideous one,
Yes.
shanked.
Caesar?
Yep.
Caesar.
No, shanked the attractive one.
Yes.
And Gladiator, thank you, Russell Crowe. And the whole point is Americans want a fair fight. No one is cheering for someone getting beaten up and murdered while their hands are tied behind their back. But this manufactured debate is exactly that. No audience, no this, no mics, no this. And then the media is going to carry with it and crow, oh, he totally won. If it does happen, they would say, look at how Biden shot down Trump and this and this. Like, they will create the mirage. But at the end of the day, too, I think everything he does is beneath the office of the presidency, but nothing more so than his crowing and his glee at a former president that is facing criminal charges and him saying free on Wednesdays. Give that T-shirt to your son.
You know, Emily, one piece of advice, when you're going to use a film analogy, try to learn the characters. I mean, that's all I got. That's all I got from that. That's all I got from that. Jim, as an expert in strange noises, can you make a noise that describes what the debate might be like?
A lot of that.
Yes.
Something tells me, like, he accidentally, somewhere along the line, he's like, yeah, I'll debate. And someone said, oh, he said it. And then his team was like, oh, wait, time out. It's like me saying, yeah, I'd go around with Tyler. Yeah, I'll fight him one day. Someone said, oh, no, it's on record. Okay, well, all right. But he can't use his arms.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And
keep him tied to the chair.
Right. And I get the first 10 punches.
Yes. You would still lose, though.
Oh, I would definitely lose.
Have you seen his feet? His feet could kill you.
I mean, after all, I use a dump truck for a toilet.
I did not write that one.
Oh, you so
No,
did.
I didn't. That was one of the few poop jokes I didn't write. I thought that one was beneath me. Much like many poop jokes. Cats! All right. Do you think that this is real? What's going... I don't trust the Democrats. I mean, they're doing lawfare right now. What is going on?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I really hope it happens, though.
Yeah.
Just because I want to see it.
Yes.
You know, because I don't really watch sports.
No, you don't.
So the debates are the one time where I feel like kind of probably how sports people feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like watching it and other people are weighing in. Everyone's got their takes about the things.
Yeah.
But I honestly think the rules, they wouldn't really hurt Trump that much, because I do think it's actually tough to debate someone like Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's tough to ask the hard questions of someone who looks like the only question you should be asking him is, do you need a ride to the hospital? Yeah. So anything that can be set up to make it like look nicer to him, that's almost, because it's so easy to look like you're bullying the guy.
Yeah, I'm going to quote, I think I'm going to quote myself when I said that Biden's biggest strength is his weakness.
Yes, which I've said multiple times.
No, I said it last night.
Okay. Sure. Welcome to my life, America.
All right, Tyrus, we talked about this in the green room. It kind of like broke. It was about this. So Michael Cohen claims that there was a phone, he called Trump about Stormy Daniels, and now they find out that it was actually a prank.
Yeah, a 14-year-old prank called him. I don't know how many episodes of Catch a Predator I heard that on, but because a 14-year-old calling you up going, hey, is your refrigerator running? Well, yes, it is. Well, go catch it. Click.
Yeah.
FBI, there's a 14-year-old teasing me.
Right.
No, that's not why you call the FBI when a 14-year-old's on the other end of the phone line.
Or it was Trump's bodyguard he calls. You don't call over a crank call.
No, listen, I'm a retired bodyguard. When you call us, it's the fixer situation. Like, what do I do? There's that great scene in Godfather 2. That's the bodyguard. Like, look, no one's going to know their name. No one's going to forget him. One day we ask you a favor. You only call for help when you up. So it's disgusting. I mean, this guy can't get any worse. But what's more disgusting to me is the fact that you had the mitigated gall on this show to say Vivek.
Yeah, it's Vivek.
Drop the fix story.
It's Vivek.
I've been. I don't give a damn, Mr. V. I've been saying this since day one, that there's no debate. The fact that he even said the date. We ain't even know who's president yet. Have they had their little parties to say who's going to be president and represent in the VP? No, he just randomly drops. June 27th, let's have a fight. Right. Oh, and JFK can't come because you know what? No matter what, he could have made it, or KFJ, or whatever. I don't even care right now, I'm so mad.
KFC Jr.
But he could have. That guy can make it.
Yeah.
So why can't the other guy be there?
Yeah. No, it's a great
For
point.
a good reason. I told you, there's no debate. He can't talk to anyone, let alone answer a question.
He can debate himself. That would be fun. Yeah. I would watch that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.